Tiff, what I'm gonna start using is the triple O. I'm gonna do a triple O from the bottom up to the top, and then I'm gonna fade him and I'm gonna show you what the OA, the O, and the 1A will do for you. Here we go. Always start in the back when you're using these for your fades. As you see at the bottom, it still has a little bit of hair there. I know he wants a ball fade, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch over and I'm gonna go to the 4. As you see, when you use the flick of your wrist correctly, it automatically blends it out for you. Look at the flick of that wrist. Again, this is a quadruple 4. When you're doing this on African American hair, keep a brush in your hand for purposes of keeping those wiry hairs to lay down and brushing everything back in place to make sure you don't have any stagnant hairs or any wiry hair sticking up in your ball fade. Ben, that my client has already told me that he didn't want anything off the top. I'm going to now clean this up here around the edges. I'm going to then switch. Changing my blades, I'm going to switch over and I'm going to lay out my OA. I'm going to lay that out. I'm going to lay out my 1A. But I'm going to use my 1. Possibly, actually, instead of using a 1, I'm going to use a 1.5. You'll see why. When I use the 1.5, any hairs that are at the top that are still thick, that I don't want to lose because he's getting a high fade, but he doesn't want anything off the top. So instead of using that 1 right away, I'm going to use this and I'm going to start my next fade line. As you see when you're doing your fades, everything is about making that 2-step or 3-step for your fades. So I'm basically tapering, or what some barbers call is fading the next step up to get that contour as to where I want it, which I'm doing a balanced fade, not an unbalanced fade. Again, balanced, not unbalanced. My 3rd step, where I'm doing a triple step fade on him with the hair on the top, I'm then going to put his next step down at an angle. So as you see, I have that line all the way around. I'm going to put the 1.5 up. I'm going to go to the 1. When I go to the 1, I'm going to use basically the corner of the clipper. And I'm going to come back around the head using just the corner of the clippers. As you see now, it's starting to blend itself. But the line is still there, the contour line is still there. I want that to be there. Because then what you do in barbering is called a drag. I'm going to then see what type of drag I want to use on him as far as how far I want the fade to blend or how I want it to lay. Still right now I'm in a blended, balanced fade. So as you see now it's fading. But as you see, you can see a faint, distinct line in that fade. So I'm going to go to the OA instead of the 1A. I probably won't even have to use the 1A. So I'm going to go back here, which I'm going to leave a long drag on him using just the corner of the clipper. And as you see, it's starting to lighten itself up more. So once I finish lightening that up, I'm going to continue around the edge of the head. I'm going to stop here because now I want to start doing everything on my fade at the same exact time. So I'm going to go back to the triple O. And while using the triple O, I'm going to go back in, hit only the corner, and that's going to pull that line out. You can pick and choose which corner you use. Just make sure you use the corner. Otherwise, you're going to be pulling your fade contour line up higher, and that's not what I want to do. So as you see, if you look at that, now you see there's no line there. The small faint line that's there is the contour line, which is supposed to be there so you know where your fade is at. Stop from that point, switch back over OA. Brush before I start anything to make sure those hairs are laid the way I need them to. And again, use the corner of your clippers, stay at the bottom of that contour line, and come around the head. This is called the dragging of your fade. Again, I'm going to stop again. I'm going to go ahead and house my OA, house my 1A because I don't need it. We're going to go back and again, triple O. Again, I'm going to use the corner of my clippers. Now, one thing I will do, once I put the triple O up, I'm going to then switch over to my wall singles. With the wall singles, I'm going to then take a 1.5. The 1.5, as you see, he's got bulk still here at the top of the contour of his fade. I'm going to close it all the way with the 1.5 and flick. And I'm going to pull that bulk out. And you'll see where the fade begins to drag higher and you get a longer dark piece to the fade. Again, still using the corner of the clippers until I get into the fade or into the bulk. I could go back into that with a 1 or a half and leave it open or midway closed. But there's no need to because the fade is exactly where I want it and typically where he gets it. So as you see, the fade stays right above the crown or the occipital bone of the head as I'm doing the pull.
Where you going, man? I thought you were going to be cutting his hair.
So again, as you see, what we're doing right now is we're just pulling the bulk out of the top of the head using that 1.5. And by using the 1.5, we're flicking that wrist to make sure that the fade drags to where we want to. Again, using only the corner of the clipper. And as you see, you can see where the fade's there. From that point, I'm going to house those back into the shelving. Then I'm going to come back in This is the main point of the clipper. This is going to be your best friend if you have it lined out correctly and oiled up and maintained. This is going to be a great clipper for you once you start using the 76s or the Oasters as most people call them. But this is where you start doing the contouring and the outlining of the hairline. It's always best when you're doing the contour line or the beard line, always start at the bottom. A lot of people don't feel comfortable doing this, so they don't have a steady hand. Start at the bottom and work your way to the top. Don't do top to bottom. When you start to do the front lining of the edge up, start at the middle peak. When you get to the corner of the edge up, everything should be at a 90-degree angle or a 45-degree angle, depending on the contour of the client's hair. I usually do his at about a 45-degree angle, so this is a regular client of mine, so we know exactly where it's going to be. But to get those wiry hairs out and to make sure that it stays super fresh and super crisp, I always brush them out to the side. Once you're done, you can brush everything back into place, and you should be good to go there. I always try to go the extra mile and make my clients extra crispy, so we know what time it is. You know my cut. We come back in, and we touch them up with the blade. Again, that's just an extra step to make sure your client is satisfied. Once you come back down here to get everything else finished out, touch up the back of his beard lining. And again, compliments on my client, Trey Hopkins, Princeton Senior High School, graduated, longtime client of mine. Appreciate him being in the video. And we touch his chin line. Again, we go down here to the bottom also and touch up his neckline. Remember, barbers, cosmetologists, whoever, if you're doing this process right here, this is a good way to learn how to stretch the skin in case